Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. Today's session is on Angular 17 and Python Django REST API. It's a live coding session. The reason that I'm hosting Angular 17 session today is because Angular 17 has recently been uh, released, and there are a lot of cool features. I just wanted to take this opportunity to share the new features with some of the interested people, and hopefully you like it, and we maybe we can work together. You never know on a project, and then also Python Django REST API. We're not going to build a Python Django REST API today, but we are going to be consuming the Django REST API using Angular. So it's kind of connect Angular with the REST API. I kind of get to see how Python Django REST API looks like. They connect with it, play around with it, making API calls and stuff. So that's actually, I think, a lot for 1.5 hour session, but let's see how it goes. Now, today's agenda, once again, the things that we'll be touching on is basically building an Angular 17 project from scratch. So we'll be starting from scratch. If you don't have Angular experience, that's perfectly fine. We'll go to the CLI and build a project, create the project from scratch. And create project, create components. So there's something called Angular components. We'll be creating Angular components and see why they are important and how to use them. And then use Angular routes to render the data. So we'll also use the Angular route to go to a component and render the data, like show data, build a basic website, and use cool Angular 17 features. Angular 17 is actually, I would say, it's one of the best releases so far, in my opinion, because it has so many important features, so many improvements that I haven't really seen in the past few releases. So this one is specifically very what do you call it's very eye-catchy for everyone. A lot of improvements have been done by the Angular team, so great work there by the team. And consume, end of the day, consume REST API exposed by a Django REST service. We'll be consuming that. The service is already built, is hosted on raptorcoder.com. So we'll be just consuming the service to build some pages and see how fast it is to use Angular and build a website or a web application. Okay. We'll have a small session, a quick session, an opportunity for you to win a JetBrains IDE. So if you are a coder, JetBrains is an excellent IDE. You can use WebStorm for web development, PyCharm for Python development, and there are many other IDEs. You can use the license for anything. I'll be asking a quick question from this class, and if you can answer it, you will win it. And then there'll be Q&A session and recap for 10 minutes. Make sense? Any questions so far? All right, I'll move forward. So important links. Let me share all these links with you. Okay. I'm sharing in the chat. So what are those links? So first of all, the code repository. I have built the service already. Whatever you're going to do here, I have built it already. And in the GitHub URL, you can go and clone the code for yourself and play with the code. So you don't have to really code with me now. Okay. You don't have to code with me now. You can actually just, get all the code there. You don't have to code it now. But if you code with me, that's great. That's the best experience, because we'll learn together, right? You may face some problem and I'll be answering those questions. So that'd be a great session if you can code together. The next one is the Raptor Coder YouTube link. So there are some videos already from the past sessions. There are some free classes as well. So if you are a Python learner, then the YouTube has a lot of good resources. Then a slide for this link. So it's there. And then finally, the Discord link. So we can be connected even after the class if you join Discord. So you can ask questions, or you can try out this project later. And then if you have any question, you can ask. Okay. All right, moving forward, a little bit about me. If you don't know me, or if it is your first session in Raptor Coder, then my name is Ahsan Al-Chowdhury. You can call me Ahsan. I'm a professional software engineering manager. I have like 15 plus years of software development experience. I play with technologies mainly like Python, Angular, JavaScript, Raspberry Pi, Kubernetes. These are just to name a few. In the last 15 years, I have played with so many different kind of technologies, but these are the main ones that currently I'm using. And Raptor Coders, I built this small company just to make it easy for people to learn code. All right, so let's dive in. This is coding time. If there's any question, just stop me and ask the question anytime. All right, so let's get started. So first thing first, let me know if you can see my screen. I'll be see my black screen, which is the CLI as visible. Okay, I'll take it as yes. Yes, Delia, you unmuted. You wanted to say something?
I'm saying yes. That's all.
Okay, all right. Welcome back, by the way. Good to see you. Okay,
Thank you.
so yeah, so so as you can see, then we need something called Node. How many of you know Node as a technology? Do you know what Node is? Anyone, can you raise hand if you know Node.js? Okay, so if Node is new to you, Node is basically JavaScript running on the server side. Okay, JavaScript runtime allows running JavaScript on the server side. So normally JavaScript runs on the web browser, but Node.js came and changed everything. They say, hey, you know what? We can run Node.js on the server. And all the goodness of JavaScript can be applied on the server side as well. JavaScript is a very famous language. It's called informally the language of the web. If there is no JavaScript, technically there is no excellent web browsing experience that we have. It all be gone. All interactivity, Facebook, Twitter, and all the coolness that we see, that how cool it is. They click on something, it just happens. Online chat, online calling system, all be gone in browser, right? In browser experience will be gone. JavaScript is primarily facilitating all those features. So JavaScript is highly asynchronous language that is famous for its ability to do things asynchronously. And Node.js just allows us to use all these powerful features on the server side. Okay, now in order to install Node.js, you can just Google install Node.js. But if you're using Mac OS, I'm using Mac OS, you can just run reinstall Node. I think that's the command, and that will be installed on your computer. But you can go to a web browser, download, and see the instruction. That also works. Okay. I personally prefer using something called NVM Node Version Manager, which is a very powerful tool for running different versions of Node.js. If you want to be a JavaScript developer, then to be able to run multiple versions of Node.js is important, because your different project may be using different version of Node. I'm using NVM at this point, but yeah, the end goal is that you have Node.js installed, and make sure you have Node version 20, which is the latest. All right, the next thing that we need is Angular. Okay, now in order to start an Angular project, you need something called Angular CLI. Okay, and Angular CLI, to install Angular CLI, you just run npm install. Let me show you the command. Angular CLI. I'll just follow the instruction. It's npm install -g angular/CLI. You can copy this and run it. I have installed that for myself already, but I'll go ahead and run this command anyway, just to show you. It's not going to do anything because I have it already, but I think it's just checking if there's an update or something, and it'll say it's already there, right? All right. And with this command, it's guaranteed that we have Angular installed on our local. Now, there is a -g flag. That actually means that install Angular globally. right? Globally. So I can go anywhere in the system and then I'll be able to run something called ng. So if you have Angular CLI, ng command is there. I can do ng version, and you can see that it says, hey, Angular CLI is installed, the current version is 17. Okay. So, okay. All right, so yeah, so Angular 17 is installed, and it's important to see that we have Angular CLI version 17, which means that everything is good because we're going to be using some Angular 17 feature, and it's important that we have the right version. So yes, with all this, Angular is installed. Now the next thing that we're going to do, we have to create the Angular project, the new Angular project. Okay, so all we have to do is very simple with Angular CLI. I'm currently in the directory called Raptor Coder Meetup. Okay, so I'll do ng and new for the new project, and let's call it what? Let's call it. Can someone give me a name? I'm very bad with finding a name. A name for this project, please. What does our slide say? Angular 17. Let's call it Angular 17 intro. Okay. Angular 17 intro. So ng new Angular 17 intro, and just hit enter. What it's going to do is going to ask it a few questions that, okay, I can help you create a project, but do you want to use CSS, or do you want to use SAS or SCSS? These are like different options for beautify, for styling your pages, right? Styling your pages. We'll be using the basic one, which is CSS. Is good enough for us for today. And do you want to enable server-side rendering? No, I'm fine without it. Not going to complicate things now. And there you go. It's creating some files for us. And we'll go through the files real quick. All right. You can see that installing packages in PM. So what happens is that when Angular application is created, like it created the directory and all the files that we need to create a new project, but then it needs to run something called npm install. That's because Angular, the project depends on many external libraries. The project depends on many external libraries, right? Those are just dependency for the project. So it will go ahead and get all those dependencies for us so that we can just go ahead and run a command. Now that our project is ready, we can just say ng serve, right? So Angular knew then the project need to create the project. Okay, I actually have to go inside the directory, cd Angular 17 intro. So let's go inside the directory. If I do ll, you can see all these files are created now, right? This is a fresh blank Angular project. But you know what? We can still run it. We can run it and see if everything is working. And in order to do that, we can just say ng serve. It's going to serve the Angular application on a browser. So let's go ahead and see what we have there. There you go. It says building, it's built, and then finally it says, hey, you know what? Angular application is running. You can go to localhost 4200. So let's copy that. Okay, 4200. And I'll just paste it on my browser. And there you go. You have a brand new Angular-based web app running on your browser. Okay, this is actually being served by Angular. And as you can see, it's running on 4200, localhost 4200, just as localhost 4200. If I refresh the page is shown, I can close my server by hitting Control-C. That will kill the server. So the server is not running anymore. If I go back and refresh, you'll see that server is not running, which means that it was coming from the Angular project that we have just created. Okay, let's go ahead and run once again ng serve. And let's go back, and you see that the application is up and running again. That's awesome, actually, right? That with just a few commands, you have a blank application running, functioning application running. So let's go ahead and use something called VS Code. Okay, I'll go ahead and open the directory, and the directory is in sites, and then we have Raptor and Raptor Coder Meetup, and that's the directory that I created. Okay, Angular 17 intro. So I'll just hit open. All right, so it's ready and loaded in my IDE, which is VS Code. VS Code is a free IDE. You can just go ahead and download. It's pretty powerful. WebStorm is also very powerful, but it's paid, but it has tons of feature inside of it. Okay, tons of extra features that WebStorm can provide just because it's paid, and this is highly, highly engineered, extremely powerful, and you'll have an opportunity to win a WebStorm license today if you can answer a question from today's class at the end of the session. Okay, with that, so let's see what all these directories. So they can look a little intimidating, like see so many files in here. So let's take a few minutes to kind of go ahead and explain this, what those files do. The first one is .angular. Okay, this is an Angular internal file. Anything that starts with dot is something that you don't want to bother about, at least at this point. Okay, if you ask me how many times I have to go to like .angular, I don't remember. I never had to go and do any kind of extreme engineering there. So let's avoid the .angular, anything that starts with dot. Anyone knows what a directory that starts with dot, what it actually means? A directory, if a directory starts with dot, it actually means it's a hidden file. Okay, you are not supposed to see that file, so you can safely ignore it. So let's assume that we don't see .angular and .vs Code. By the way, the .vs Code is a directory for Visual Studio Code to keep some configuration. Okay, just in case you are curious. Then the next directory that we have in here is node_modules. Remember I said that if you run npm, when you create a new application, you need to run something called npm install to install all the dependency of the project so that you can run the application, right? When we run npm install, all the external dependencies are downloaded from the internet, and they'll be stored in this directory called node module. So let's expand it and see what we have inside of it. So many files and directories, right? So many directories here. I don't even know most of it, right? But they are contributing to this Angular project in some way. And I trust that Angular team has done an excellent job to only download the ones that are important. So I'm not going to be bothered about it now. I'll just close it. But just know that all your application third-party dependencies, external dependencies are inside of this node module. So you can see that the first directories are not really important to us. I mean, important to the project, but not to us at this point. So let's safely ignore those. Then the next one that we have is src. That's the important one. That's the directory where we'll be spending most of our time in. Okay, src directory has some files, and we'll go through those files. So let's close this for now. And there are some other files. We'll go into the src directory and show you all the files in there. Editor config, it starts with dot, so don't worry about it. Git ignore. We can ignore it for now. This starts with dot again. Angular.json. This is an Angular configuration file, which we can edit. Most of the time, we will probably not be editing it, touching it at all. So you can safely ignore it now. But you can see that it has certain information like where is the index file, where is the main file and stuff. These are all internal configuration. Where is the global style sheet file? So we can go ahead and configure all these parameters so that our Angular application can behave differently if needed. When do we customize things? When it's needed to be customized, right? For example, you can buy a brand new car, or you can buy a brand new car that is customized, right? That would be more expensive, but you can customize your car. If you are super rich, I think super rich people, they do that. So, but most of the time, we don't really need to customize our car. It comes with ships with already all the goodness inside of it. So is Angular.json file that we have, it's already good enough for us to build our application. So I'll just go ahead and close it. That is a package.json file. Remember I said that there are dependencies that Angular will download when you run npm install. What are those dependencies? This is the file where the dependencies are listed. See this dependencies block? We have something called animation, common, compiler, blah, 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 RxJS, Jones.js. These are like libraries that Angular is using to build our application. these are the goodness that Angular will add to our application. But I'm fine with not explaining all those because not really important at this point. Just know that the dependencies are here in this file, package.json. Okay, so let's close this now. There are some other config called tsconfig, tsappconfig, and spec. Those are not important to you as well. Then what is important? What is important? Well, there are a few things important here. How do you start your server? So your package.json has the start server with ng-serve. How do you build your server? ng-build, right? These are just the commands that we have in the package.json. Others are not that important. If you just know these two commands, you'll be good. So let's close this and dive into the src directory, okay? Now, before we go there, okay, there you go. My OB-Storm is running, but I'm using VS Code already, so let's close that. And let's go back to our browser. Our application is still running. Okay, let me close this. Application running, and here's our source code. So let's go to the src, and there is something called index.js, index.html here. Okay, so if you have ever done any kind of web development before, then you will probably know that index.html or .html files are basically for serving HTML, because browsers understand something called HTML, right? So this is the main HTML file of our application. So let's do something here. We can say h1 hello from Raptor coders. Okay. And if I refresh, I'll have to close it because that's not read automatically. And you'll see that this is a hello from Raptor Coder. I'm just trying to prove that this is the file. This is the file that's being read by Angular to render our application. Okay, but this is not Angular. This is just the main HTML file. Let me get rid of that because that's not really important. What is important is inside of this, there is a app directory. Inside the app directory, this is the main entry point for the application. Okay, we are diving into the meat now. This is the main entry point of the application, which is the src app. And in the src app, there is something called app.component.html. This page that we are seeing here is actually this app.html application, app.component.html. This app.component.html is always the first entry point for your application. So when Angular runs, it runs this file to begin with. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what we have in here. These are all like see, it says that the content below is only a placeholder, can be replaced, right? The Angular is saying that you can go ahead and delete all this because they're only a placeholder just to give you a cool intro. So I'll just go ahead and delete all this. The router outlet is one thing that I'll keep it there. But here, let's go ahead and say something, right? We say H1 stands for header. The header is the biggest header. Welcome to Raptor Coders. Just save it. And if I go back, you can see that everything is gone and only welcome to Raptor Coder is remaining, right? I can add some more information here. You can say that, hope you are all doing well. So the moment I save it, let me just put it on side by side, okay? And maybe I'll keep it here. And maybe I'll just put the browser on the right side. So you can see as I type what effect it has on the browser, okay? So on the right side, I have the browser. On the left side, I have my IDE running. So the moment I save it, and you can see the text appears. That's beautiful. That allows us to do software development and validation side by side. So we write our code on the left side and the code shows up and the output shows up on the right side. How cool is that? But how is it happening? It's actually being, our site is regenerated by Angular. So let me add some blank page here. And I just say hello here. And you can see hello is showing up. But how did that happen? You can see that Angular detected some change. It rebuilt it. And then it served the entire application on the browser. Really cool. So let's do some cool thing. Okay, so we are going to be building an application where maybe we'll be building a course page, right? Remember, I mean, if you know about Coursera, right? And Coursera sells different courses. You can go to Coursera, you can see list of courses, you can click on a course and you can see the details of the course, right? So we'll be building a course listing page. So how do you do that? So the grand idea is that we'll have a list of courses, right? And then we can click on a course and then you go to the course details page. That's basically the scope of the application. So how many pages do we have? We have 2 pages. One for the main home page that will list all the courses. And another page is when you click on a course, it will go to the second page and show the course information in there. Make sense? So this is what we are going to build today. Okay. So we talked about 2 things, the home page and the course details page, right? It's safe to create components. Something can be, I mean, you can think of a component as a page, okay? A big page can be a component. So every page can be a component. So let's keep it simple and say that we need a home component and we need a course details component. Home component will show the list of courses and the course details component will show the details of every course. It's the same format for all courses. So 1 page for all courses, delisting, and 1 for details. So if it's a component, that's something we need. How do we create a component? Okay, it's very easy. At this point, you can see that we have only app component, which is the root component that's serving this, right? But we need 2 extra components, like I said, home and course details. So let's go ahead and create those 2 components. I'll go to the CLI. I'll just type ng. So whenever I need to create something, do something, looks like I need to take ng's help, Angular, right? And ng, G for generate, C for component. Angular, go ahead and generate a component for me. Okay, what's the name of the component? The name of the component is home. Okay, so ng, Angular, generate a component, C for component, and the name of the component is home. So let's hit enter. There you go. It did nothing but it created a directory for us called home. And inside the directory, we have a few files. Let's go ahead and do ng serve. And you'll see nothing changed, right? It's nothing changed. So because we are not using the new component that we have created now. So let's delete all this. Okay, so app component will remain simple. But here inside the app, we have something called home, right? This is the new component that we created. This is the new component that we created. So let me go open it a little. Okay, make it a little wider. Okay. Inside the home component, now we have something called home component.html. Okay, and you can see that there are some code here that's not really showing up because our page is totally blank now, right? So let's go ahead and add something here. Let's add a header and say that welcome to Raptor Coders. And then maybe in page 3, list of courses. Okay, and let's list some hard code some courses in here. Okay, so imagine we can use UL, that's UL for unordered list, okay? And then ALI for a list item, okay? We can say that, hey, I have a list of courses, and the first course is Introduction to Angular 17. My second course is Introduction to Python. My third course is maybe one last. Introduction to REST API. Okay, so imagine we are offering these 3 courses. I just saved my home component, but nothing shows up in here. Nothing shows up in here. You know why? Because Angular is now rendering app component, not the home component. Home component is something we just created, right? So it's not rendering the home component. It's only rendering the default app component. We need to tell Angular, hey, Angular, when someone is, see the browser link? When someone is the home page, someone is on the home page, localhost 4200, or imagine it's your website, say for Delia, delia.com, then render my home component. How do we tell this to Angular? There is something called routing. You can just say Angular, if someone goes to home, load my home component. If someone goes to course details, load my course details component. That's very easy. And how do we do that? Angular automatically creates a file for us that's called app.routing.ts. This is the place where we add all our routing, okay? And it's super easy, I'll show you. I just need to add an object here. And I'll say path is empty. And the component that you want to load is my home component. That's it, save it. So all I'm saying, I'm adding a route. I said the path is empty, which means when the path has nothing in here, there is nothing called /course or nothing. It's totally empty, right? In this route, whenever the user goes here, which is the empty path, load the component called home component. I'll just save it. And there you go. Our home component is now loaded. How easy is this? So you created an Angular component, and the routing, it said that if the user goes to this route, load this component. That's it. You're done. You basically have a routing system ready for, out of the box, right? How cool is this? Well, it can be a little, it can be a very new feature for some of you. Why don't we create another component and create another route to go to a different route? So you'll have multiple routes, one for home and the other one for, say, course details, right? So let's create the course details route as well. So how do we create a new component? Again, ng-g-c, ng, generate g, generate c component. And what is the name of the component that we are creating now? Course details, right? Let's call it course details. Okay. Okay, our course details component is ready. So let's go ahead and run Angular once again. Okay, and we should be able to see the course details. There you go. The course details directory is now showing up, right? And let's go inside the course details. And we have the HTML in here. And let's go ahead and add some HTML. So what do we see in a course detail? When you go to a course details page, so for example, when the user clicks on, if the user is able to click on Introduction to Angular 17, and user clicks on it, you want to see more information about Angular 17 course, right? So in order to provide more information, let's add the H1 here, the big header, right? And the header is Introduction to Angular 17. Sorry. Angular 17. And not only the header, we want to see some details as well, right? So let's go ahead and add the details. You can go ahead and get some details about Angular 17 from the internet. Okay. Angular 17, and maybe from the Angular page. Okay, so let's copy this from a random place and just paste it in here. Okay, so there's one paragraph, and then there is some more paragraphs. I'll just go ahead and copy this information. Okay, there you go. So let me close this. So we copy pasted some content from the internet on our course details component, right? It has Angular 17 information in there. So if I refresh my page, again, it's only showing the home page. It's not showing the course details component, right? Again, if we want to go see the course details component, maybe we can just tell the router that if the user goes to /course-details, or just goes to course details, then load this component, right? How do we say that? We can go to the router again, app router, and we can add another entry in here and say that if the path that the user visiting, if the path of the browser user visiting is called course-details, right? Then load the component called the one that is just created, right? What is it called? Course details component. Hit enter. There you go. So home page, home component, course dash details, load the course details component. Okay, let's go and refresh. So this is the home page, and let's now navigate to slash course details. Hit enter. There you go. Angular 17 is now showing up, right? So you can go back to the home page and you can go forward to the course detail page, and your page is functioning. You can refresh and you can see the content is loading perfectly. This is Angular routing working with Angular component. Very easy. You have multiple components for multiple pages, and you tell your router, go to this page, load that component, go to second page, load the second component, and so on, right? You may have 100 components, you may have 10 components. The rule is going to be the same. Let's take a pause and maybe ask questions that if you have any question before we move forward, because it's a good time that I can probably answer some question. Let's move forward. So we created 2 routes and our web page is loading. We have 2 components, but you can see that all these routes, they have hard-coded content, right? We don't want to use hard-coded content. For example, if I go to home component, right? Here we hard-coded all the course lists. So it's not data-driven, right? So how can we do data-driven what do you call page generation? How can Angular help? Let's see how we can do that. Okay, so let me go back to the home page. So this is our home page, and what we are going to do here is we're going to create a data-driven page generation experience. Okay, let's see this side by side. All right, all we have to do here to render the course. So now the course is, like I said, once again, it's hard-coded now, right? So can we get the data from, instead of hard coding, can we get the data from variables, right? So let's do that. So we can go to the home component, and we can say, hey, let's create a variable that will hold all our course information called course list. Okay, and course list is of type any. This is we are not writing JavaScript here. We are writing here TypeScript, which is created by Microsoft, by the way. The language that we're using here to write this code is, you can see that home.component.ts. TS stands for TypeScript, created by Microsoft. Okay, so using TypeScript to kind of declare the variable and say that, hey, my course list is an array, is a list, and it has, the list doesn't need a data type, and it has multiple courses inside of it. The first course has a title, or maybe name. And the name of the course is Introduction to Angular 17. Okay? And then I can just copy paste this. And I can create, maybe this time, let's create 4 courses. Introduction to Angular, Introduction to Python, Introduction to TypeScript, and Introduction to anyone? .NET, since we're talking about it. If I just save it, so what I've just done is in the home component code, that's basically where the logic stands, the TS file, component.ts file. Component.html file is where the data is rendered, where the page is rendered. And the TS file is where all this business logic will remain, right? So this is where we have now a list of courses. But this list of courses, as you can see, is not really getting rendered in here because we actually hard-coded the content. So let's go ahead and see how we can render this. So because we have something, a course list in here, we can go to the same component, home component HTML, remove all this from here, and say, you know what, don't want to hard code it. Let's go and get the data from the variable. So in order to do that, Angular 17 has come up with, they changed their for loop, the looping syntax, okay? Made it really, really simple, called @for. This has a capability to loop through a list of objects or list of data, okay? And then I can say for course of, what's the name of the variable that we have in here? Course list. So we can actually reference course list in here. Let's say course list. Okay, and then that's all. Whatever I put in here, hello, or maybe just paste the list item, you'll see now it's rendering introduction to Angular, introduction to Angular, introduction to Angular, introduction to Angular, right? So it looks like it's repeating how many times? 4 times. How many items do we have in here? 4 items, right? So let's go ahead and remove one from here. So the last one is gone. If I undo, last one is back. So it's actually taking this list, seeing how many items we have in here, and it was looping through this block that I created, right? So that's why it repeated the same line over and over 4 times. You might be thinking, for course of course list, this loop will give you every course. The first time it will give you the first one, and the second one, the third one, fourth one. So it'll go through the list and give you the course object. But there is something new here, something called track course. This is new in Angular 17. It allows rendering to be really, really fast, right? You may be able to you can use Angular for building applications like Facebook, really, really complex application. So it needs to constantly update the web page somewhere. You're scrolling down, and new videos are showing up, your messages are coming in. So many things are happening that it's really important for your application to be able to scale. Angular guarantees that if you use Angular 17, whether it's for a small application or if it grows in the down the time, like for example, in 2 years' time, it becomes a huge application, does not matter. Angular is able to scale. Angular is able to handle the load. Okay, so that's why I'm saying that Angular is able to do the little optimization, this fine-tune optimization for you, so that you don't have to invent something really fancy, right? This track course, what it's saying is that this small syntax here will allow rendering these courses really fast. Behind the scene, it's doing something really fancy, very highly engineered, newly developed by Angular team. It's very highly recommended that you do that. Okay, so no, this track course is basically for optimization, but it should be unique. It should be unique. So ideally, you want to have, every course should have an ID. So why don't we go ahead and give an ID here? Okay, so ID, maybe give this one 1, and this one 2, this one 3, and this one's 4. Okay, so I just gave an ID. So now I can, so the condition is that the track course, this should be unique, right? So now I can say course.id. I know the ID is unique, and it's going to work as well, right? So if you have an ID, use an ID. Otherwise, you can just drag the object. But here, what is boring is that it's repeating Angular 17 4 times because we hard-coded it. How do we render this name in this page, right? Angular makes it super easy. Let's go ahead and do that. There is something called magic curly braces. The moment we have these double curly braces, right? In between, we can give an expression. We can say that, hey, in between comes a variable, which is the course, was the name of the moment I say course, you can see that ID. You can say, hey, you have ID or you have name, because I have given these 2 attributes in here, right? So I say course.name, let's choose name. And if I save it, and you can see the name is being printed here. Angular 17, Python, TypeScript, and .NET. So what is happening is that going through the list of courses, and then it's printing the name of the course on each line, right? Any questions so far? Okay, let's go ahead and add a new attribute in here called course description. Okay, and the course description will, let me just maybe copy some course description from here, maybe just some random, is add for, yes, Dylan. Oh, welcome back, Dylan. Add for is a replacement in Angular 17 for ng4. So we don't have that directive anymore. I mean, we have it. You can use ng4, but it's recommended that you use add for, because that's way faster. It's highly optimized and the new way to go. Okay, but they are not I mean, you should be able to use the old one, but this is recommended. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and add a description here. So I'll just copy paste some text just from the internet. Let me just. Okay. So I just added some description, but it's not showing up in here for good reasons, right? I mean, we haven't really printed the course.description. So let's go ahead and do that. That's super easy. So we can do li and then curly braces to print the variable. And then we say course.description. Okay, if I save it, okay, I did something wrong. Course.description, it says that unexpected UL. Okay, because I removed the curly brace. Okay, but we don't want an li here, right? We don't want a new li for the description because I don't want a new list item for the description. Instead, I just want to print the description right inside the course here and maybe give it a few paragraph. Okay, there you go. So I have the title, name of the application, and then the description of the application. Maybe this one, let's say that, let's make it H5 to give it a bold look. There you go. Introduction to Angular 17, then the description, introduction to Python, then a little description. The TypeScript and .NET, they don't have description not showing up. Okay, so what's happening is that we are specifying the data in here, and we are rendering the data in here. Okay. Any questions so far? All right, so let's do the next thing. Okay, so instead of getting all the data from from this hard-coded list, how about we consume REST API? How about we consume REST API? And REST API allows us to consume data or get data from an external server. Okay, so this application is being built on our local, right? But we need to get the same kind of data from somewhere else. I already created a service on my website, raptorcoders.com. Okay, and here you can see there are available courses, and you can see there are 2 courses currently available: full stack development and data ingestion using Python. Right, these are the courses that I'm offering. But how do I get the data? I don't want to see the website, right? I want to get the data so that I can use the data and build my web page again, and my new web page on my local, right? So what we have on my website is something called API, okay, that exposes the data. So let's see how we can get that. So raptorcoders.com/API/courses/. If I hit, you'll see some JSON page loading that has the data. But it has tons of information. What's the ID of the course? What's the name of the course? What's the summary of the course description? These are all coming from Django backend. All coming from Django backend. And let me show you how my Django backend looks, okay, real quick. So I can go to, it's no secret, I can go to /admin, hit enter, and my Django shows up. This is a backend application, so it's to answer Delia's question. If you want to build a database-driven website, you probably need Python. There are many other languages. You can use .NET, you can use Python, you can use PHP, you can use JavaScript for the server side, you can use Java. There's so many solutions, but my personal choice is Python nowadays. This is just because it's extremely powerful. And this admin panel that you're seeing is built using Python Django framework, okay? If I go to courses, and you can see I have 2 courses now, and this is again Django framework. And if I go to full stack development using Python, I have 2 courses only, and you can see all this information up there. It has a name, summary, description, blah, blah, blah. So a content manager can go and change stuff in here, right? You can go and change stuff. And if it is changed, then he doesn't have to do anything. The front end will always automatically expose the same data using API, and the data will show up in here, right? Then another web application, it can be a mobile app, or it can be an Angular app, consume this data and build a user interface or page so that the user can interact with it. Does that make sense? So REST API allows us to connect to different backends, right? Access different kind of data, host it on different kind of server. So see, this is rapidrecorder.com API. This is on the internet, right? Now we are going to be using this website to get the data and render the information on our newly built Angular application. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll copy the URL. In order to access the backend, Angular says that you should be using something called Angular service, okay? So component is for rendering the pages. Components are for rendering pages. Services are to connect to the backend, okay? To make API request, connect to the backend. Component is not the way to go. Services are the way to go, okay? It's just Angular says that there is separation of concern, right? So in the kitchen, when you go to the kitchen, you cook there, right? You go to washroom and you take a bath there, right? But there are separate rooms for doing different things. That's for good reasons. In the same way, in software development, right? You should have different kind of file to do different kind of thing. You don't mix those up because that will become really difficult. Can you mix those all up and still build a web page? You can, but it will not be scalable. It will be very hard for other people to come and work with you, right? That's why we should need to follow a standard, and Angular provides that standard for you so that you don't have to think twice. Things are already kind of structured for you. That's why I personally love Angular, because with a lot of power comes a lot of responsibility. Many times people are not responsible. People will build all sorts of things, and it's hard to work with them. Angular gives you an opportunity to build an architecture application in a way that's standard, okay? So we're gonna make an API call. So we'll be creating something called service. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll go back to our old friend, and we'll say ng, Angular, g, generate, not c for component. This time is s, generate service. And the name of the service is course service, okay? Course service. nggs for service, course service. Let's hit enter. And you see that it created 2 files, but we are interested in the course service.ts. Okay, let's go ahead and see what we have in the file. Course service, there you go. This is the file that got created. You see that? This is a file that allows us to inject this service everywhere. Okay, what I mean, I don't want to complicate the class now, but injection allows us to use this service from everywhere, right? Imagine you have 5 members in your house, right? And you might need plumbing service. Do you want to be the only one to call the plumbing service when needed? Or you want everyone to be able to call a number and get the service, right? A service should be accessible by all the members, right? Which in Angular term, we call it injection, a dependency injection. So all the components have dependency on a service. So Angular will automatically inject the service for us so that all the component can access it. So now, what do I mean by that? This core service is responsible for making API calls to the backend and get the data. Which component needs the data information? All this data. Our home component needs the list of courses. Course details page needs the detail information. So it looks like both our component, the listing page, which is the home page, and the details page, they both need access to the data, which means they both will need access to this service, because the service is going to be the provider of data. Okay? So let's go ahead and fix it and connect all those, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a function here or a method here called get courses. Okay. And this get courses is going to make a call to the backend to this website, raptorpera.com/API/courses to get the data. So in order to do that, the easiest way to do that is something called fetch. It's built in here. So I can just call fetch, go and get, fetch, go and get, and then fetch what? This URL. Okay. So it's like if I go to this page and refresh, I get the data. Fetch is going to do the same thing and get the data. Okay. Then once the data is there, then you'll get the data, or maybe you get the response. Okay. And once we have response, sorry, I'm missing something here. Once I have the response, then I can do console.log response.json. Okay. This will return the data in JSON format. By the way, the data format that we see in here is in JSON. So this is going to return the data, excuse me, in JSON format, and then it will be rendering it in the console to see that if everything is working. Okay. So I'll go ahead and go to my home component, and I'll remove all this data from here. I'll make it an empty, and then I'll make a call to that service. In order to do that, I'll have to add something called a constructor in this. Something called ng-init. Anyone knows about ng-init here? On init? Anyone have used Angular? This is not new though. This is not, a new feature in Angular. This is an old feature. ng-init is an interface that allows us to run something when the page loads. A question to you. When the page loads, do you want to wait for the data, or do you want to see the data loaded already? Anyone? Do you want to go to a page and wait for the data to be loaded, information to be loaded, or you want to see the information loaded already for you?
No wait.
No wait, right? I don't want to wait. Time is money, right? So every component, a component is responsible for rendering the page. You know that already, right? We have home component, we have a details component. Component is responsible for rendering the page. When I go to the page, I want to see the data ready already. So we can say that, hey, on init, when the page is initializing, get the data. Is the data hard-coded anymore? The data is not hard-coded anymore. Now we are going to get the data from somewhere else. When you visit a website, is there a 1 or 2 seconds delay, a lag? Yes or no? Depending on your internet connection, when you get the data, when you browse a website, there will be some latency, some delay, right? So before the component renders, I wanted to go get the data and prepare the page and then show, right? So that's why Angular has something called implement ng on init. Okay. This will allow us to make a call or do something when the page is being initialized. Okay. And we can say, okay, there's some stuff that I'm adding here you may not be familiar with, but we can talk about it. And here, we'll add the constructor. The constructor, we can say that I have a private service, and the name of the service that we created is called course service, of type course service. Okay. There you go. And then I'll explain every line. And this course service, now that I have access to it, I'll do course service dot, remember the method that we created, get courses, right? Get courses. I'll do course service dot get courses. Let's call this function. Okay. sorry, this should be these.codeservice. Yeah, codeservice.get. So what I'm doing here, when the home component is being initialized, we'll make a call to the core service and say, hey, core service, go to Raptor Coder, get all the courses for me, okay? And what is the core service doing? It's going to fetch this URL, which is basically all this data. And then when it's done, it's going to console log. It's going to log the information in a window inside the browser so that we can see, just for debugging for now, to see that everything is working, okay? So let's go ahead and see if it actually works. So I'll go and do something called inspect and go to console, okay? And our application is not running, so let's do ng serve because we created this service, but we didn't really run the application. Oh, we have an error. Description does not exist. Oh, that makes sense because we actually, got rid of, right? Yeah, so that makes sense. I'll just get rid of these two lines for now. Okay. All right. It was complaining because, and there you go. Do you see data in here? So what happened when we call the core service, it went ahead, made a call and rendered. See, in my console, it actually went to Raptor Coder and get all the data and render. And you can see that it has the description, it has the name, the image URL, it has the summary and all that. Okay, does that make sense? So a service is making a call to the backend to a different website to get the data. This is basically doing a HTTP request to get the data to a REST API. Okay? Any questions so far? I'll take it as a no. So let me just change this and return the fetch from here. Okay, what it's going to do is it's going to return whatever the fetch has returned. It's going to return the data from get courses. I don't want to console log anymore because I'm good. I can see the data is coming. So this is working already. Now in the home component, I will say that the data, my course list, these.course list equals, these.course list equals a wait on this promise to resolve. Now promise is a topic for a different day. What did I do wrong here? Okay, we don't want to push because that's going to replace. So what I can do is that I can do .any. Okay. Okay. All right. You can see I'm doing a wait. That's a way of getting the data that returns a promise. Now, promise, we can talk about promise some other day. It will be requiring me to maybe take half an hour to explain and show you what it actually means. But when you make a promise, what happens? You keep the promise, right? This course and get courses, it says that I promise that I'll give you data. When someone promises, it means that something will happen in future, not now. This await will wait for the promise to be resolved and return the data in here. Okay, it's just an internal thing or a JavaScript feature. If the promises are there in this is asynchronous coding, is there in Python as well, right? Because when you make a request to an external server, you don't get the response immediately. It takes a little bit of time. That's why it's a promise, okay? But know that this will be resolved and to return the data in here. Now, this course list is not hard-coded anymore. This is coming from the Raptor Coder backend. Now we should be able to render this data in here. So let's go ahead and see if we have the data, if we can render the data on the web page. So you can say course list. Let's go ahead and render. And you can see there's an object response. Sorry, did I miss something? I may have, sorry, let me see. Let me see the documentation real quick. I may have missed something here. I can see that I'm getting Anyone? What am I missing here? Oh, I need to avoid on JSON as well. Sorry. So this should be response. Okay, and then I need to this dot course list is await on response dot JSON. Okay. All right. All right. You can see that object. So the data is here. So let's see what this data are. I'll go to my home component, and here go back to the same. Here we'll say course dot name, and let's see if it renders. There you go. It's working, right? It's making a request. Let me show you on your browser. So if I refresh, you can see it made a request to courses. If you see the header, it made a request to raptorcoder.com/API/courses. And in the response, we have the data. And how many courses we have? We have 2 courses. That's why we have 2 data showing up in here. Right? Does that make sense? Let's add the description as well. The home component. And in here, you can say free, and then course dot, maybe just a summary, okay? There you go, the summary is showing up now. So we can actually render any data from here. So you can see the ID, you can name, summary, description, and you can see there's an image, right? How about we show the image? That's gonna be interesting, right? Image URL. So let's go ahead and render that as well, okay? So in order to render the image, you can render the image at the top. In order to render image, the syntax is img src equals, src needs to be bound, and course dot, was that image URL? Image URL, right? Okay, that should be all. And there you go. The image is showing up now, right? 2 images are showing up. How about we fix the image size? That's very easy. You can say height. Maybe I want the height to be more than 100 pixels. So let's just say 150 pixels. So we got the image, we got the title. So let me add a BR here, just to add a break. Yeah. So I have the image, we had the title, we have the description, and again image, the title, and the description. Yes, it's not looking good, not looking like great, like very presentable, but you can see that you can use Angular to kind of, if you know what you're doing in a matter of an hour, you should be able to build a brilliant website with some CSS, with some CSS knowledge, right? It can look really lucrative and very expendable. Like you can start small and you can grow big, like Angular 17 promises. So I want to take this opportunity. We unfortunately we only have 12 minutes left to give you some resources here. There's some Angular.dev, this newly built website, and let me show you what it says. It says works at any scale. Angular lets you start small on a well-lit path and supports your team and apps to grow. So it can really grow. Angular promises that. And then it says it's loved by millions, built for everyone. And then one thing I really wanted to show you is this tool. If you're not interested to really, install Angular on your local, you can actually play with Angular code right in here, right? How cool is this, right? You can see it's saying hello, right? The template, we had a separate template file, but they're using the same template. So we can say, here in the template, we can say H1, hello from Raptor coders.
Ooh.
Oh, sorry. And there you go. Hello from Raptor coders. How cool is this? Right? This is Angular 17 running in your browser, so you can play around with it. What is my name? My name is Assam. And you can see that as I'm typing, okay? Angular is doing its magic. It's showing what I'm typing. Really cool, right? So I'll be sharing this link with you in the chat for you to try. You can scroll down you scroll all the way down, and then you'll find this playground, or you can just click on the playground on the left side. Okay. One more thing. Sorry, where is it? I can't find my slides here. I just wanted to let you know I have a full stack software development using Python, Django, and Angular coming, and it's starting from the 2nd March 2024. And this is basically to help you learn how to build a real life full stack application in team environment. Get hands-on experience with Angular, but this time I'm going to be using Angular 17 since it's just released. This is the 3rd batch. My 1st batch is almost done, so that's why I'm starting the 3rd one. The 1st and 2nd is done. It's gonna be using Angular 17 Django, so you'll be using Python and Django, not just REST API. You actually be building REST API, and we'll be deploying it on the cloud. We'll be following some Scrum process, and there will be an opportunity for the team members to work together. So if you don't have an experience to work together with other team members and understand how in real life you can actually share code, send pull requests, use Git or GitHub, so that you can become more familiar with this development development process and get ready for the job industry, then this can be a great starting point for you. So the course fee is $250 per month. It's a 3-month course. And if you're a student or unemployed, you have a 20% discount. The course, I'll be sharing the link in case you're interested or want to learn more. You can go to raptorcoda.com, available courses, and this is the course that is starting. There's the other course that is also in case you're interested in, but this is the course that for sure is starting next month. So feel free to click and click on register now, so I'll get the details and I can give you a call back to discuss in more details. Thank you so much. Next item is is the quiz time. Okay, so I'll be asking a question. If you can answer, then I'll be sending you a license for JetBrains. Okay, so you can see if you go to JetBrains product, and I definitely want to thank JetBrains for supporting Raptor coders. They have been very supportive, and they have been providing these coupons that are otherwise very expensive. Okay, but I can give you the coupons that are actually sent by JetBrains. Okay, and then it's and I just wanted to tell you that if you're a Python developer, you probably want to use PyCharm. Okay, and the price of PyCharm is, if you're an individual ID for professional developer, is $249 US. Okay, for individual use is $99 for the first year. Then after that, it's gonna be if you want to upgrade, then you'll have to pay. Otherwise, you don't. But it's $100 for PyCharm. But if you're doing Angular or web development only, then you can use web, and the web development one is $69. You can use the license to actually buy anything here. Okay, it can be PHP, C Lion. If you're a data person, Data-Grip, an excellent tool. Trust me, this is like the best data manipulation tool. It can connect to almost any database, and it gives you a very powerful interface. If you're a data person, this is the one. If you're a .NET person, then there is a .NET Performance Profiler and .NET Decompiler. There's so many .NET memory. It has so many applications. If you want to build an Android application, you can use the Kotlin one. So yeah, you can use the license for any. So now let's go, and let me share this link with you as well. The license, and with the license you can get all this for 100% free. All right, question time. What is you know about components already, right? You know about components already. and you have different kind of components, right? What is the mechanism for loading different kind of and you can use chat. Whoever answers the question in the chat first, I'll be sending the license to him or her. Okay. What is the mechanism to change from one component to the other based on browser URL?
Service.
You have to write. You have to write in the chat. I already have one answer, but it has to be a correct answer. What is the mechanism? What is the mechanism for changing from one component to the other based on the browser URL? In 1, in 2, in 3. All right. It's actually routing. Congratulations, Samia. Okay. Okay. Now, Delia, web service.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from. Web service allows you to connect. Yeah. Congratulations, Samia. Web service allows you to connect to backend to get the data, right? But routing allows you to load different components. So if you go to home page, the home component is loaded. If you go to course details page /course details, and course details component is loaded, right? That's the magic is happening in the routing. Routing sees, oh, the URL is this. Okay, I need to load this component. And let's take a look at the routing. Once again, I know these are new concepts. You know, it takes a little bit of time, but if you practice, I mean, if you start coding, you'll see it will become a piece of code for you. Okay, piece of cake for you. There you go. This is the app routing, and if you remember, this is homepage, right? It doesn't have any route. If nothing is there, then load the home component. If the user types course details, then load the course details component. If you have, for example, a contact us page, right? Contact us page. Create a contact us component /contact us, go to contact us, right? About us can be another component, right? So congratulations, Emia. You can send me your email address privately, and then I'll be sending you the license by email.
Question, just a question though. Where does VS Code fit in terms of the JetBrains list in there?
Just a second. All right. So Delia, can you repeat your question once again?
Yeah, I just kind of wondered, seeing that JetBrains have several IDE support.
Yeah.
Why wasn't VS Code just the default? I mean,
okay.
Where does it stand? Yeah.
Okay. Now VS Code is an excellent IDE. Okay, but it's open source and it's free. Okay.
Oh, okay.
The components that VS Code has, for example, if you can go here, there's like this extension on the left side, right? You can see that these are extensions, right? You can go and look for Postgres, and you can see there's a connection management tool for Postgres. Okay. If I click here, who created this Postgres library? Chris Coltman, one person, right? He's got a good rating, but this is a free software built for you so that you don't have to pay, and it kind of does the job. For a professional, and more, you know, I mean, for a professional, someone is trying to fix a problem. If you're learning, then this is maybe okay. But for a professional, someone is trying to do a job and get something really done as fast as possible. There is no alternative, in my opinion, to something called data grip. Okay, it makes it's autocomplete syntax, joining tables, joining different kind of data sources, all in one place. It made my life so easy that if I had a choice, if I had to take buy three things from JetBrains, the first one would be WebStorm because I'm a web developer. The second would be Python because I'm a Python developer. The third one would be data grip. I have used so many tools in my life to do my job in a more efficient way. I could not find anything better than data grip so far. That's my personal opinion. You can try it out for a month. There are tons of tutorials as well. Once you understand how powerful data grid is, you cannot go back. It's really, really extremely powerful. And the same for the other, right? To answer your question, JetBrains is an excellent company, and their products are uncomparable. Okay, but having said that, if you don't want to spend a penny, Visual Studio Code VS Code is a very good starting point. It's a very good choice.
Okay.
Okay. All right. It's 11:31. Unfortunately, could not finish the entire application, but you can go to the GitHub repository. For those who joined late, I'll just share this once again. Let me just copy one thing here. Give me a second. And then we'll go to the question and answer session. Any question? It can be related. It can be related or unrelated. That's fine. Okay. Right click, copy, and then paste. All right. So you have the repository URL there. This one, the first one, copy, paste on the browser. You can just git clone this, or you can download the code. Okay. And you can run npm install. The instruction is here, by the way. Git clone it. You have Angular CLI. And then you can run ng-serve to serve the data, and it's going to work. Okay. And it's going to work like this. Let me show you. That's the one, meetup. Okay. And then I go to ng-serve. And now if I go to localhost 4200, so this is, if you clone the repository, if you download the repository, and if you run the code in the repository, it look like this. This is also consuming the data. It looks a little better because I added the background and color and stuff. I mean, it's not best, but it's better than what we built today. Definitely, it has more color, and it has also something called routing link, right? So you can see that it's showing both items, and then I can click here and see the details, right? So it has a linking. I can go back to the homepage, and I can go data ingestion using Python. There's a second course that I'm offering. So you can go back. So there you go. And if there is no other question, then thank you so much for joining. Thank you for spending the time together. I hope you learned something today. Okay. And I hope you'll explore Angular 17 in the future. So take care and have a good weekend. Bye.
Thanks.